This time of year, we love a checklist, and the best checklists are on whiteboards. John Longmire, if you were to tell us what do you have to get right heading into a final series, what would your whiteboard look like?
Yeah, well, I'd like to go to the old whiteboard. I'm a big fan of the whiteboard, Gerard, and these are some of the things that I've thought about, but got right, but also got wrong over the journey. So it's a bit of both. And as we put it up now and have a look at it, hopefully it's a bit neater than my writing on the whiteboard. The relaxed yet ruthless. There's a combination of this one and the second one that really sort of resonates. If you look at the fact that you've got to use you can't use your energy too early. I think that's really important. You've got to be mindful that during the season, during the final series, the players in particular need to be able to switch off. And when you're sort of switching on and switching off, you need to make sure that the players have got the ability and the permission from the coach to switch off and not think about football. It's a really important time of the year, but you need to make sure that you save your energy for what really matters. And by switching off during that period of time, it gives you that opportunity to really focus when you need to. The third one is, and Simmo and I spoke about this, and we can both recall moments that matter over our coaching journeys, in particular in finals, there's some moments in big finals games that you can just recall off the top of your head that the players get right. That's a really important aspect. The next one is training intensely. Probably a couple of times during the coaching, maybe I backed off a little bit at times. And, if you've got a bit of a few injuries in your team and your squad, you get a bit nervous this time of the year, and you can't fall for not training intensely. You can back them off a little bit too much, and it'd be interesting to see what the Giants do in that regard. And further to that, injuries, the uncontrollables, they're the things that you can't control. What happens and how many players that you actually play that have had a bit of a limited run on the way in. You can't do much about injuries when you get in game, but how many do you play that have had limited preparation? That becomes a big factor as well. I don't know what you think, Simmo. Do you have anything else to add?
No, everything there is exactly right. Trying to stay in the moment's probably the critical thing. And the first one you had there, I think it was which one? What was the first one you had on that list, Horse?
Relaxed yet ruthless.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of final series. We would do the smiley face and then the straight face, and it was be relaxed until you cross the line or until there's a moment where you switch on, because even the pre-game warm-up goes for a bit longer, and as the national anthem, all those things. So enjoy all that, but there'll be a time where you're straight-faced, and that's normally for me it was when the ball bounced back as a player. But if you're playing these days, maybe it's a bit earlier.
What's your attitude, both of you, to the injuries? It is one of the storylines out of this weekend, and we spoke to Adam Kingsley about it. They got 5 genuine. So how did you decide in the end? I guess for me, I think it would be the hardest thing. Who do I have faith in? Who do I understand? History comes into it, I guess. But what was your determining factor on ticking or not?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, Gaz. I mean, your best players play. I guess that's your starting point. But then you're working back from that, and how many have you got on that list, and how much training have they done? So that even if they've missed games of football, how much training have they done? And you can see the list there. They're pretty important players, and you love to have them fit and available. But how much of a risk are you taking by playing 3, 4 or even 5 of them at once? We've got away with it a few times when I was coaching, but we also made a few mistakes at different times when we were coaching. But you make those decisions with the facts in front of you. You don't have the benefit of hindsight. And I don't know whether, Simmo, you've got any theories behind that, but you can get away with 2 or 3 that have had limited preparations, but not much more than that.
Yeah, look, you'd like to have everyone at a specific role. That there's backup roles for the players that are in the 22, but you can't replace McGovern, for example. So him getting up for me back in the 2018 final series was so important for that grand final. But on the flip side too, we lost a few players in that campaign that the next soldier came in and just played the role. It wasn't the same player, but it was the same role. So I'm sure all the teams across the competition will be dealing with some sort of just come in and play your role, or hey, listen, you're a bit underdone, we're going to back you in.
John, you had one other supplementary lesson, and something that you Kangaroos lived through, and as a coach, I imagine it's a scourge from the box. What's the extra?
Accuracy. This is one of the key ones. And I think it was Lee Matthews said probably the most important stat in footy, particularly in finals, but especially playing away finals. Accuracy, if you waste your energy early in the game by hitting points, kicking points, if you're playing really well and you're not putting the score on the board, it does get a little bit frustrating. The pressure builds. It's probably just a key stat in footy at any particular time in the game, but particularly in away finals games. And as you mentioned, when we were playing in '98, I think it was, in the grand final against Adelaide, the boys, I wasn't playing that game, but I think it was 2 goals, 18 to one end. And so in the end, you look back on that, and it's one of the big regrets of not getting right on the biggest time.
Just give us a little insight into Matthew Nicks tomorrow night. Take us back. Your first final series. John, does it naturally come with nerves?
Yeah, it does. I mean, Nixie's been around for a few years. I was in my first year in 2011, so, he's got a bit more experience sitting in the seat, so it won't be completely foreign to him. So I'm sure that he's got the right people around him. You rely heavily on your senior players, and, he's got a number of players there that maybe have tasted a bit of finals, but he's also got a few there that haven't. And so he'll be trying to keep those ones that haven't at ease, and really using the ones that have enormously. Jordan Dawson's got a pretty good head on his shoulders, and the senior players in that group would be relying upon enormously. When we played in 2011, we played Rossi Lyon, who was a friend of mine, at Marvel Stadium, and I just recall relying heavily on the senior players, and I'm sure Nixie will be doing the same thing.
What about 2015 for you, Simmo? We have a look at this, the Sydney game against St Kilda. Yours is 2015.
Yeah, well, if you look at this vision, it reminds me how good Adam Goodes is, by the way, and was. I suppose it depends where you play, who you play, how long you've been around. The first thing that I draw upon is my experience as a player. So I'm sure Nixie played a few finals games in his time and knows what it's like. So you put yourself in the player's shoes. What are they going through? This was our big moment in our final series. This is a prelim. We were 22 points down the first quarter. It's scoreless, and Josh Kenny just did something special. And sometimes Horse spoke about moments before, and sometimes you just need your players to stand up in big moments, and that really righted the ship for us. I was pretty happy about that. A bit younger there, Horse.
Jeez, you haven't got as many grey hairs there, mate.
No, I haven't. But I think overall, you put yourself in the player's shoes is the first thing you do, and there's an advantage of actually having playing the game at any level before. I mean, it doesn't matter what final you're in; it feels different. So, what are they going through? How do you manage that? Expectations? How do you not play the game in your head too early, and then getting on with the job? And once the game starts, after 5 or 10 minutes, it does settle. So can we get through the first 5 or 10 minutes?
OK, before we go to a break, and you're with us for 2 breaks, they demanded their finals champions and premiership heroes. They said, we want 2 breaks. Take us back to 19 days ago, Simmo. These 2 teams played. What do they take out of it?
Yeah, look, I think we reviewed this game a little bit, didn't we, about both teams going into a +1 situation. So we'll finish off this segment with just a little bit of the 2-minute drill. So when the game got really tight, what do you do when you've already got a +1 at each end? And Adelaide's, they normally go to an extra with their wing. So you see Isaac Cumming trying to get behind the play here, and there's already an extra because that's the way the game was played the whole night. So, and Horse be interesting to see what you do in this situation. So he squeezes back up as a wingman. It settles down again, but they really go into their +1 mode, and that means it's a winger that goes behind the play. And what's interesting is, and this happens all the time with Collingwood and Adelaide, is, okay, I'm going behind the play. I'm the extra now. I'm the 7th defender. Now it's over to Collingwood to go, well, we'll equalise that. We don't like a spare versus spare. There's only 2 minutes to go. Or, no, we'll have our spare behind the play and we'll try and get some overlap and beat you in the front half. So as this goes, it goes to a stoppage at the other end. And it ends up being Pendlebury who's playing wing versus Cumming, who's the deepest defender. And this is the 2-minute drill. So Collingwood know we don't equalise. We actually take it on with the extra. They're going to try and find that extra player. So as this ball comes in, how can you get it into Pendlebury's hands. Now, I'm not sure if Pendlebury does this deliberately or not. It'll be interesting to see if this does happen again, but he gets picked up and that frees up the most dangerous player in the competition in Dacos. So you've got now Dacos versus the deep wingman, and can you get it into his hands? It's a free kick. He has a quick look, Cameron, and doesn't decide to use it. And this is now advantage Adelaide because now he's bypassed the spare and now it's into this. There's a bit of junk there. If this does get through, there's a spare behind the play. So if it happens again this week, I guarantee you Adelaide will play a winger behind the play and Collingwood will not equalise. And Horse, you're a bit different. You'd like to equalise those type of plays.
Well, if it was a 7v7, but it wouldn't go 8v8, and you'd have the extra with the eighth up around the ball in a dangerous position. But certainly I wouldn't go any more than 7v7. And it's going to be really interesting to play out if it's, as you mentioned, a really close game. What you can't afford to do if you're Adelaide is to let the most dangerous player in the competition free. Or Scott Pendlebury if they're trying to save the game, because he's the on-field coach and you need to make sure that he's not pulling the strings.